Welcome back for the follow-up. This is that Smith Wesson M&P, the Aimsurp Plus police or law enforcement trade-in. Of course, as soon as I start to film, the dogs lose their minds. No. Go on. Go on. They think I'm talking to somebody who's here, so they're freaking out. Anyways, watch the first video so you understand the condition that this arrived in. I'm not completely done with it yet, but I went ahead and I used these red fiber discs and ran them in the same direction for the side slabs and the top of the slide. I completely stripped the slide. I cleaned it completely out. Every orifice. There was quite a bit of grit in the slide. I found a lot of residue in the striker channel. Quite a bit right behind the extractor. As you recall, the sights that were on here were pretty much destroyed. Looked like somebody had banged them 1,000 times on something up here. So I got these True Glow Pros, Tritium Pros, with the big orange dot in the front, U-notch in the rear. If I can get it in the right light, you can see all the scratching is gone. It has a nice satin finish to it again. It didn't take any of the sharpness or depth off of any of the engraving or imprinting on the steel there for the markings. Since I run a safari land with my M&Ps, there's one scratch mark here that came back immediately after I started reholstering it, so it must, and it was in the same spot as it came from the officer, so I imagine he was running a similar safari land. I need to find my cold blue, and I'll take care of these blued parts. You can see they're missing some bluing. I used a little bit of 400 grit sandpaper and took care of a lot of the cuts that were in this rear beaver tail. I didn't really mess with the bases or anything like that. Little ding there you can see. There was one little pit from the factory there that you can still see because my buffing method is just that. It's a buffing method. I don't really remove much material. It does have grind lines at the front here, but those are factory grind lines, and they're actually identical on both sides of the slide. Just some light grind marks. But I wasn't going to go deep on the slide. All I wanted to do was remove all of that surface scratch that it had going on, which was very substantial on this particular trade-in. But for $229, under $300 with 2 extra mags, and the sights, because I got those on a killer deal. I did leave some brass residue from my brass pin on here because I just drove them in. I didn't use a press. I completely stripped the whole thing, and I polished trigger contact surfaces inside. I polished the feed ramp on the barrel back to like new. Polished the safety plunger assembly and the striker interfaces. I was originally going to get a spring kit, but this came so broken in that the trigger on here is just butter. It's fantastic. You go through that little travel point, which You'll never even notice when you're firing the weapon. And then it's, oh, magazine disconnect. The one downfall to the 1.0 M&P. Snap it just like butter. Very, very nice now. Now that I've got her polished up, she will scratch back up. That's just the nature of the game. And the finer of a satin you put on here, I think I did go a little bit glossier than factory. The more fingerprints and other things will show up as well. But it's nothing that can't be repaired continuously for 3 lifetimes. Just to keep the aesthetic the way that I like it. I like all of my knives and all of my firearms to be as close to new as possible, even if they're highly used. Well, there you go. So don't be discouraged with these. Within one batch, you'll have 3 different conditions. They'll never tell you that, but you'll be able to fix them up good as new. Doesn't take in much elbow grease at all. I did it sitting right here at the kitchen table, driving my girlfriend crazy. Have a good night, guys.